Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's breaking story is a bloodbath in the bond market as housing rates are pushed to the absolute max. Again, a number that continues to stall out an ever-frozen housing market where many folks are standing by, looking at the marketplace, deciding if they're ever going to purchase a home or find affordability. And folks, I got to tell you, even as we see the news today, which is absolutely going to boggle your mind, I'm going to show you some insider content on exactly what folks inside of our industry are saying. And they, as I always admit, I see it on my side. You folks aren't necessarily privy to it, but they're freaking out as there is a great exodus away from anything related to employment in the housing market. And folks, this is going to melt away all the continued grand illusion that folks continue to think there's not a day of reckoning coming to the housing market, because folks, it is here. We're going to check into all the news, but let's get into the data right now. And yes, folks, news of the day is that the interest rates yet again have gone parabolic. They're literally vertical, hitting the 8% mark for a 30-year fix for someone with great credit. You got to understand, folks, this is only for those that have good credit. This is not for everybody. There's going to be folks at 8.5%, at 9%, purchasing their first home or going into a situation where they're buying a property, those that are investors or second home purchasers. If there's any folks like that in the market, they're paying likely 10%, 11% interest rates. This used to be a hard money interest rate back just a short year or two ago. And folks, as I've always said, you got to understand that when rates go this high, and I'm telling you, we're printing news on yesterday's interest rates. I showed you a market update yesterday where Redfin blew the whistle saying the average person in the US needs to make 115 grand to afford X interest rate. Folks, we're way beyond that now. Yesterday's data, around 7.5% interest, showed that it cost 15% more payment-wise to buy a house than a year ago, folks. So when you have a 15% increased cost, the payment that it cost one to borrow to buy a home, the payment is the true price. And as we start to see these types of situations manifesting, it's going to have its way. And ultimately, folks, I've been looking at the bond market for a long time, and I've wondered, even last year when we started to have the bond market stable, more stable than I thought it would be. And the backstory this for you folks watching, the bond market matters because the bond market is actually where our interest rates are tied. So they correlate with one another. So when we watch the 10-year treasury bond price going up, interest rates are going up. And last year, folks, one of the major things that took place was this affected price around the country. Now, I'm going to show you this chart. Look at this. This effectively was the peak of the market, which was May 2022 of last year. Now, back here, Jerome Powell starts raising interest rates, and then the market started reacting. Look at what happened in housing. This is a Florida-wide average price graph. You watch my channel, you've seen this one before, because I was blown away that we had a $602,000 average price. By the dead of winter, it was fallen $527,000. That's like 13% price loss overnight, and it regained coming into the spring. And since the summer again this year, it started to plummet again. Now, folks, this is interesting because when you look at last year and you look at what it took to drive the price down, the mortgage rate last year only got to like 7.2, 7.3%. It was modulating around that number going into October, November, December, when the entire buying public was like, oh, I can't afford it, I'm out. And then we came into the new year and a lot of different things happened where rates dipped and also unemployment was still bottoming. Unemployment going into this year is doing something that it is not no longer doing now, which was it was going to a record hot, overheated employment market. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's wages are record high. They're not high enough to pay for the grocery bill, mind you, but Jerome Powell's fixing all that. But these interest rates went through the roof. Now, folks, this is the problem in the market now, is that we're now back at 8%. Anything in Florida, anytime we've seen the market rate against current average price, okay? Because the interest rates aren't the problem, folks. A 7 or 8% interest rate is not the problem. That is a normal rate. It's even a low rate in the history of time, right? That's where all of your older relatives that had a mortgage back in 1982 loves to remind you they had a 13 or 18% mortgage rate, somewhere in between, okay? But they didn't have a mortgage on their house that was tenfold higher than their annual earnings. Now it's 10x to buy the property mortgage amount. Whereas back then you're paying 13%, but you were paying it on a 2x mortgage amount versus earnings. Earnings are way less. Borrowed amounts are way high. This is the danger, folks, because now we're borrowing at higher rates. And it's not just the public that's borrowing and being strangled. And this is where it all has kind of gotten tough for Florida, is we've seen the shock happen really above 7%. Now it's epic, folks, because listen, the last 45 days, at the face of the interest rate shifting post-summer, right, May to June to July, we lost 4% average price in Florida like that. Overnight, there was automatic softening, buyers pull back, sellers that have to sell freak out, reduce price, and then all of a sudden you start to see price modulating. It'll be interesting to see because our next data points I predict are going to be much softer coming in November, December. Now look what's happening in the real estate industry at large. I got to show you what's going on because this isn't talked about all. This particular post, one thing that's not being talked about is that while we're seeing a massive disruption in employment and income across the sector of housing, okay? People whose livelihoods are attached to housing are in trouble, folks. Listen, I can show you case after case like this that's on screen. This is a common post. Look at the engagement level of this. This is a national group. I won't tell you the name of it, but this is a national group, 700 likes or responses, 300 to 400 comments. As of now, I won't make my next mortgage payment. This has been my worst year in business ever. What advice or things would you do right now if you need a closing now? Well, first of all, it takes you like 90 days from the time you meet a customer, they pick a house 3, 4, 5 weeks later, and then there's a 35, 45 day closing. So this lady is going to miss a mortgage payment if she doesn't get a side job like yesterday. But look at the feedback, the top rated, have faith and thank God for your wins. Don't give up, keep going. This is the most Pollyanna. The real estate industry is full of hope. Like I'm convinced that people in the real estate industry that have real estate licenses aren't contemplating the financial implication of what we're going into, because look at this. The Association of Realtors membership is up even as transactions decline. Okay, so we're up like 1% across the board for NAR membership, even as there's less business to go around. Now look at the mortgage industry. The mortgage industry is going the opposite direction. They have what's called an exodus from the mortgage industry. I read this note from the National Mortgage Professional. According to Fannie Mae, overall mortgage activity is down 74%, right? We already know record number of people aren't refinancing. Obviously, interest rates are too high for that, but they're not qualifying to go buy houses, okay? So look what happened. 14% of producing loan officers changed employers, and almost 12% left the industry entirely. Yet in the real estate industry, according to September report, this is the most recent one I get my hands on, the industry is trending 1.3% down over year. So there's slightly less, according to this. Now, this particular report that I was quoting in August showed we were like up 1%. Okay, so look at this says right here. Membership for the organization was 1.56 mil at the end of July, up from June, down 1% year over year. So year over year, it's a conflicting statement. It's about even, right? So you've got 1% of all realtors have left, yet in the real estate industry, this is the big problem, right? So folks, the mortgage industry has jumped to it and they know what's going on, but look what's happening in the real estate industry. The real estate industry has 1.5 million participants. Now, I Googled today how many properties are available on the market for sale. There's 700,000 houses. So there's not even one house for every realtor to play ball, to do business with, to create economy with. And it's getting worse because while there's only 700,000 houses and 1.5 million standing around the inventory, that little tiny pot available inventory, there's just not a lot of business to go around. So you have the mortgage industry's way ahead, but let me show you one other thing that I think is fascinating. Look at where all the business is up and down, okay? California has lost nearly 5% of all realtors year over year. California has blown out a bunch. Colorado has blown out a bunch. Maryland has blown out a bunch. Nevada has blown out a bunch. Arizona has blown out a bunch. Washington. So the marketplaces that really had weird trends in the past year, where there's some suffering, some things changing, those are the markets that are shedding agents. Las Vegas, Phoenix, San Francisco, Seattle. So certain of these markets that we're starting to go like, what's happening? What's going on with the price cuts? Those are the ones where the agents hit the doors. Look at the other hand. Where are the markets indexing over the average? So if we're losing 1% across the board, who's adding agents in a marketplace where they're losing? Well, Florida's adding realtors. Texas is adding realtors. You have to go pretty far to find others. South Carolina is adding realtors. Tennessee is adding realtors. So you can see the southern markets they've been the hottest. Like they've continuously ran bigger numbers. And you've had, areas like New Jersey, which is having flight. People are leaving. California, same thing. A lot of those markets are shedding agents. They're shedding the jobs, and the agents are just out. They're just quitting way in higher numbers. And honestly, the other markets like Texas and Florida, they really should be shedding agents too. There's no need for as many agents that are in the marketplace. And I got to tell you, my agent friends, you're sitting here posting things like it's the hardest year ever. You're going to miss a mortgage payment. You got to understand that more than ever, people are feasting on your hardships. There are more industries and more emails that are trying to sell you a solution to this dead market, and it does not exist. They are going to take your money and run, and you would be better served going to a cash flow positive world, even if that means you get a job. Don't take the sucker's bet that, hey, it's going to change tomorrow, because it's just not in the cards right now. And I say that with kindness. I don't want to be the person that you got in this industry and you've put all of your dreams in the basket and you're trying to make it work, and I'm here raining on your parade. Nope. You are in a harder economy, harder than it's ever been, probably harder than we've seen it since 2007-8. Okay? It is here. Okay? It's unavoidable. And until there's more problems to solve for people, you have a whole lot of sellers that are just hanging out. That 700,000 active listing pile, there's a whole bunch of sellers in there that are like, yeah, I'd really sell if I got a number, but I don't really have to. I don't really want to. They don't have to be anywhere. They're not going to sell. So you might have 350,000 listings amongst 1.5 million realtors, and the Zillows of the world, the Realtor.coms of the world, all the gurus that want to sell you products and programs, and lead companies that are going to feast on this time, sharing and reselling leads over and over from buyers that aren't even getting qualified to buy a house. Don't do it. Don't waste your money right now. Go into cash flow positive environment, whatever that means for you, and be careful of those that will take your money. But that's it for now. If you've watched this point in the channel, thanks for watching. I appreciate the comments I got from yesterday's video on all the updates. I know Central Florida came up a lot for the most recent update. I am going to try and go live on this channel to update all of you that want deep dive data results on given markets. So continue to drop those in the comments. You have special requests, I'm going to cover them. We're going to be working harder on this channel, I promise. But give the video a like, share the video with a realtor, an agent who may need some encouragement right now, and honestly some tough love wisdom. It's not the, hey, it's all good, it's going to be fine. No, open your eyes and do the right thing. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you on the next one.